Hello, and welcome to today's video of the new Electrofacies analysis tool in GVERSE Petrophysics version 2019.4. We're in the Barnett in northern Texas, and I've got a log here showing the contact of the base Electrofa right here, the upper Barnett pick right there, the Barnett maximum flooding surface, the basal Barnett, and down here at the bottom we got the Camber ore division Ellenberg of dolomite. We have a new Electrofacies tab where we will start a new analysis. Currently the input well is the currently active well here. We can load other wells. We can load current well, all the wells in the AOI of the project, or a filtered set of wells, whatever you want. But in our analysis here, we're just going to keep the currently active well. We can also set the data interval input, so we can set it to something like maybe the basal Barnett, maybe we'll go say 35 or 30 feet above. Down here the Ellenberger, maybe we'll go like 30 feet below to limit the scope of the analysis. Next we're going to set our input curves, and we're going to set 4 input curves. They will be gamma ray, phi n, res d, and SP. And these are the default curves. We could set the well curves specifically, but it's always a good idea to work with your default curves as they're properly aliased. Next, we're going to set the clusters. We're going to use an elbow plot to do that. And this will run up to a maximum of 50, but that's way more than we need. And what we're looking at is where the elbow plot levels out. That means that the previous iteration versus the current iteration of clusters hasn't changed much. So that looks like it's happening around 10 or so clusters here. So we'll just keep the 10 clusters up here as the default. Execute that. Now, to help us do some QC, since we have a 4-dimensional input, it's hard to imagine things in 4-dimensional space. So we go to the pair plots, which will divide each of the input curves into a pair of cross plots. So you can do some QC to see the relationship between the curves, to see which curves are significant. Maybe you want to switch out different curves if something doesn't really jump out at you. But in our case, we're just going to keep the 4 input curves that we have. Then we're going to give the analysis name. We'll call this Barnett Facies. Save that analysis. We're going to generate our outputs and create our curves. Now we're going to create a facies curve called the Barnett Facies. Now we could also create individual curves with individual clusters. I'm not going to do that right now because I think that's a little bit overkill for this, but we are going to create a Barnett Facies curve that we can use not only in the presentation template, but also in the user-defined equations for our petrophysical modeling. And we're going to save it back to the source curve set, whatever that field data curve set is. Next, we're going to create the curves. Once those are created, we're going to close the analysis window and go over here to our template. We have a white area over here where we can now right-click and add a new track type called the Electrofacies track. And to that, we're going to add our facies curve. There's the Barnett Facies. We're going to display it as both a line and a color. You have the choice of either color only, line only. But in our case, we're going to keep the line in color. And we're going to now take this track, just click in the middle of the track and drag it over, put it next to our 6 mineral model that you see up here in the header area. And it looks like that the base Electrofa, which is a sort of a dolomitic sand here, is showing up as a green and maybe a brown color in the cluster. Down here for our Barnett, which is a sort of a sandy shale here, maybe the pink color, maybe the yellow color indicates that facies. Come down here to the black shale, looks like the blue and the gray are indicating that, and then down here the dark gray is indicating the dolomite in the Ellenberger. So now we can modify the headers, which are currently just showing the cluster names. Just right click on the track, edit the electrofacies. Come in here, and the green again is going to be that dolomitic sand of the Atoka. And that brown color, also dolomitic sand. And then that pink color, there is going to be our sandy shale. Maybe the yellow also. And then for our black shale, it's going to be the light gray color, which I think is that one right there. There's our black shale. And then the dark blue is also our black shale. And then finally the dark gray down here, the color, there is our dolomite. Save that analysis, generate the outputs, create the curves. We're going to overwrite what we've got there. Close, and now you can see in the headers that the colors are indicating the facies based upon the mineral analysis also. So there's our dolomitic sand of the Atoka, sandy shale here in the upper Barnett, and our black shale down here in our dolomite. So there you have it, the new electrofacies analysis tool in GVERSE Petrophysics in version 2019.4. Thank you for your attention and have a great day.